All right, we're going. All right, we're group one. I'm Dustin Thomas.
I'm Chris Corbett.
I'm Katie Stodiker.
I'm Kayla Ordway.
Nicole Esperance. So what we're looking at is Thomas Friedman wrote a book and talking about how his theory of the world being flat due to globalization. He staged this in 3 different points, globalization 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. He looked at these things as the world being medium, small, and tiny. The way that he decided on this was that in the 1.0 globalization, he looked at the theory of boats and Columbus era type things and how it connected new avenues of trade and people connected that way too. And it made the world a little bit smaller because people could travel in between and share things and knowledge. His next point was the 2.0 of globalization, and that's where the Industrial Revolution started. More people could connect from farther across, but it wasn't like an international thing, so it made it easier for people to transport between different areas, trading, industrial, the business, and things like that. That made the world a little bit smaller in his eyes. And the third one for the globalization was 3.0. And that, he said, made the world tiny because it was kind of like the world was at the fingertips of everybody. They could connect, they could share knowledge, everything was more instantaneous than it used to be. Instead of using a railroad or a simple boat to cross the water or connect with people, you could do it instantly via Facebook, via email, sending documents back and forth, putting bids on things. So his feeling was that that made the world very tiny, which in his idea made it flat. So instead of being round and taking forever to get from point A to point B, it made it more of a flat surface to where you could just get from point A to point B super easily. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
You guys? Any other thoughts on the differences in the travel between the 1.0, the 2.0, and the 3.0 for travel and some of the barriers they might have reached in between?
Yeah, I guess for me it's kind of like it's a timeline. He's kind of spelling it out as the world is shrinking. We're all becoming more connected, but I mean, as we'll probably get to here in a little bit, is that really the case for the entire world, or is that just for the more developed areas? So that's what I'm curious to kind of unfold.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You got it.
So, Kayla, how do you think that business starts, how it works around the world with this globalization? Does it help small businesses or hurt them? And how does it affect them?
Well, it is important for small or large businesses to understand this concept because of being informed while he was visiting India that the playing fields are being leveled. Indians and Chinese were going to compete for work like never before, and Americans just weren't ready. So Tom kept chewing on the phrase, and then it hit him. The world is becoming more flat. Several technological and political forces have converged, and that has produced a global, web-enabled playing field that allows for multiple forms of collaboration without regard to geography, distance, or even Zoom language.
Since you brought up like the geography and all of that, I was thinking about how us as students, pretty soon we're going to be out and looking for jobs, trying to be in the workforce. And now, since the flat world theory is out there, it's not just competing with people that are in our own town or state or even country. We're competing with, like you said, people from India and China. And so what are we supposed to do? So,
Absolutely. And sometimes even we're competing for jobs that can be done out of your home. So like you said, we're competing with people not only in our own geographic area, but across the internet for jobs that we could possibly have had the internet not existed. But now we're competing with people from different countries for that same job because it can be done right from the convenience of your own home.
mm-hmm. And since there's all this new added competition, we're going to need some sort of competitive advantage. And since all of this is happening, we're becoming more of a globalized society. Some of the ways that we could probably enhance our chances of getting the jobs, or maybe knowing the IT that is connecting all of us together. Or I think it probably helped to just even be proficient in another language. I know that's a lot to learn, especially if you haven't already done it. Or, and this might even just be more for when you have the job, is being aware of what's happening in the world, what changes you think might be helpful to the globalization, just based on being aware of what's happening and what can make the world a little bit better.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I'm not going to be very competitive. No, I don't know any other languages. But, Friedman talks about these 10 forces that kind of add together to this flattened world, being wireless, outsourcing, Netscape IPO, etc. But I think what's kind of left out, but extremely prevalent, like in our current world, as we continue to evolve to potential like 4.0, is, for one, like video chatting. So as competitive it is for job applications, you can video chat and have an executive in China talk to an executive in America without having to like leave their desks in their home offices. So I think that's really left out, but really contributes to our flattened world and just makes it that much easier. Do you guys have any experience, on the bigger or smaller scale or international, but just seeing that in a workplace environment?
I haven't had it so much with video chat as much as I have with like video conference on the phone and things like
Sure.
that. Connecting from like Georgia, Pennsylvania, Florida, and Michigan all at the same time. It definitely adds a convenience that you wouldn't have had in the years of Christopher Columbus and things like that. But I think it's moving into other levels, like you said,
Sure.
to that 4.0. It'll make a difference, but everybody needs to keep up, especially like you were saying with the small businesses or the large. To be competitive, you have to keep up and stick with it and understand it to be able to be in the market or have industry or business anywhere.
Yeah, tech savvy is definitely one of the most important aspects you can have as a person nowadays. Without technology behind you, you're not going to be proficient in just about anything because it all requires, technology. Even just in a restaurant business now, which is where I, predominantly work. All the waitresses have to use, a computer system to send all of our tickets back for the kitchen. When I do my order, I do it all on an iPad. It just sends it all right to the company to get my orders in. Just stuff like that. Every day we find new technology to make a new job easier or different, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that's kind of another factor of kind of adding to even a more flattened world in Freedom's eyes is the access to technology. You can get a laptop nowadays for $100, and that's allowing schools to put iPads in every kid's hand, and that availability to unlimited data and cheap technology is just putting it in everyone's hands and making everyone that much more connected.
Exactly. In my son's class, all my kids have touch screen laptops now for school. And in my son's class, it's a global class, and they actually have students in China that they make YouTube videos of themselves, and then those children view it, and then we view theirs, or my kids view theirs, and they connect through the internet, and it translates for them in between the two as well.
It's like the next level pen pal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like
Crazy.
we used to
Yeah.
write letters that took weeks and weeks to get there, wondering if it ever did get there. But they're instantaneous messages back and forth. So now they have friends all over the place. It's interesting.
One more thing about the 10 forces is Friedman asserts the 10 forces, most of which are enabling the connectivity and collaboration at a distance, which are flattening the earth and leveling a playfield of global competition, the likes of which the world has never before seen.
So do we feel that it's a good thing, or that it's reached every place as far as that goes?
I don't necessarily think that it's reached every place. I think we're more connected than we ever have been. So I don't really think that we're flat or round. I consider it to be more like a wave. So like at the top of the wave, there's the US and China and India and all the other really connected countries that are about as connected as you can get right now. I mean, there's still a lot farther they can go, but
But there still are those that aren't connected at all.
There's lots of
Yeah.
the third world countries that aren't connected at all, and they're down in the lower parts of the wave, and it's almost like you're just in a whole different world at that point.
And there are some that limit connection capabilities
Everyone in between.
due to the countries that they live in.
Sure.
They don't allow those connections as well. So
Right.
there's a lot of places that are out of reach. Maybe it will not be that way someday. Maybe someday it'll be everyone forever. But right now,
Yeah.
So for all this new competition and all this new technology, as a startup business, we have these 5 powers that Porter suggested, and they're buyer power, supplier power, the rivalry between competitors, the barrier of entry, and substitute products. So when you're creating a new business plan, how would you compete with another business that can outsource to China, to all these other places? Is there a way to stay relevant without business in technology? Or is there, you kind of have it, you have to have it and adapt to it as a new startup?
Yeah, I think startups have to adapt. I mean, especially when you're trying to enter into a market that is dominated or flooded, you got to make yourself unique, and you got to whether it's outsourcing yourself. Yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I think you kind of have to be your own supplier chain. You have to be unique, really, in the world now, because there's so many, different like alternatives for everything. There's no way outside of it, and with the world global, like there's a global market now. You can get whatever you want, wherever you want, from anywhere in the world.
Right. If you're going to start a T-shirt company, I mean, you can go on a Chinese manufacturing site and find 45 manufacturers that'll send you bulk T-shirts at the same price. So it's a completely connected world. Nobody's going to the local print shop in their local town anymore to start their own T-shirt business. To find the cheapest way to do it overseas.
well, and even look at the brick and mortar stores. They're all going out of business.
Yeah.
You even look at our town. There's so many empty buildings that are retail buildings, and they have to keep finding ways to bring people in or get them to buy. So they reach out through the internet, through global retailing sources,
Social media.
anything, just to get that.
taken over.
And even with our groceries these days, people are using ships just to get groceries shipped to their homes. So
Amazon,
they don't have to
yeah.
go
Or
out.
you can have people
So-
literally go grocery shopping for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess Thomas Friedman has kind of seen this coming for a long time, and that's really just been our perspective on this whole case. I think it was really interesting, and I think we really are evolving in that 4.0, like maybe even a whole all-around flat world. But that was Group 1's take on Case 1, so
We'll see in the future.
see you in the future.